I mean, it was just so unexpected. It was one of those things that you don't, you know that, okay, in marriage, in life, you're going to go through things. You're going to have problems. You're going to have situations. You're going to have to overcome some things. But 9 months into your marriage, when you only got married 5 months after knowing each other, so there's already a learning curve that we were in the middle of. We were having to learn each other. We were trying to find out who we were as a couple, who we were as individuals. But now we were faced with something that we could have never imagined, which was cancer.
Right.
And so I'll never forget that when we walked out of the office, the first thing we did, we went down to the car, and we were sitting there, and I think that
just like in shock.
Yeah,
like,
I think that you could tell more like that. I just didn't have any words. I was. I mean, for me, it was just like,
you were so young. Like,
I'm about to die.
you were so young, and we didn't really know a lot about treatment going forward. I mean, you hear this cancer diagnosis, and you automatically think it's a death sentence, and it's just, you don't even know where to begin. You don't even know where to begin. You don't know where to, but one thing that really just resonated was, I said in my post, I didn't want Dex to feel alone. And I just told him, like, we got this. Mm-hmm. I didn't even believe it, I don't think. Honestly, because you hear cancer, and like I said, you feel like it's a death sentence. But I wanted him to know that I meant when I said in our vows, in sickness and in health. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so it's all really a blur, for the next few months after that. We started chemotherapy, and the first chemotherapy treatment. If you guys saw my post, like I said, I know some of you are friends with me and some of you aren't, but if you saw my post when I talked about his cancer diagnosis, that picture was the first chemotherapy treatment, and it was horrible. Yeah. It was horrible. It was so bad. He got so
it was just hooking poison.
Sick.
I mean, just directly putting poison into my body, and my body reacted to it.
He got so sick. I mean, he was shivering and he was sweating, and he was wrapped up in the blankets and everything. And God, I don't even remember taking that picture. I mean, obviously I took it, but I wanted to not diagnose. I wanted to document for us, the process of it all. And so, we took that picture and everything. But in the meantime, I was searching and searching and searching. Now, you got to remember, this was back in 2006. I was searching the internet for wives that had been dealing with some, just so I could get some encouragement. I mean, I didn't even care if the wives' husbands had died. I just, I mean, I cared if my husband died. But, I just wanted to get some encouragement or read another story or something, or feel like I wasn't alone in this thing. And I came up empty. I didn't find anything. I mean, I wasn't even looking for like a woman of color who had gone through this. I was like, just any woman, any wife. And so our friend made a website for me to be able to blog my feelings and my disappointments and my anger and just all of that kind of stuff. And remember, we met on this website, and a lot of the people on the website, on the forum, were very, very supportive and very, but I mean, I know these people in real life, you know what I'm saying? So it was just I was very lonely. I was very, very lonely. And I was angry. But I couldn't show that to him, because like, who am I to be angry? Who am I to be sad? I'm not the one that's dying, I mean. And so I was angry at God. I was angry at Dex. I was angry, like I said, at myself for falling in love with a ticking time bomb. I was angry at the doctors in Nevada for not, is that you as a ticking time? Such a retard. I was angry with the doctors in California. Hey, Mom. I was angry at the doctors in California, in Las Vegas, for not catching for just brushing him off and telling him it was a fat gland under his arm. I was just so angry. And like I said, I documented a lot of that. And, he had chemotherapy every other Wednesday. We went to chemotherapy it was just as bad as you would anticipate. I mean, they hooked him up to 4 different medications. We were there for 4 hours every time. And then after, he would be just a limp noodle. He had lost so much weight. He was like 197 pounds. He had lost all of his hair. He was so weak. I mean, he wasn't cooking. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was the basis of our relationship. He was the chef and he's supposed to be cooking. Like, what the heck? No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I mean, it had just flipped our lives upside down.
In 9 months.
In 9 months, you know, being married for 9 months. And it was just a nightmare. And then a couple months in,
well, before I get to that point, I just want to touch more from the perspective of the patient. And,
right.
And from my perspective of starting the treatment and everything, I was totally in fear. There was no place in me that was coming from a place of faith, like, oh God, yes, now you have a chance to heal me. Like, no, it was just like cancer, dead. Period. Like I didn't have a lot of experience with people in my family, you know, having cancer or anything like that. So it was just like, oh man, I've been through so much. I've been through all of these things already, and it just makes, I guess, perfect sense that I would die of
cancer too.
Die of cancer now because I already did everything at that age, and it was just so crazy to think that now, after that first treatment and the way that I felt, at that point I really just felt that it was over. At the time, we were going to Detroit World Outreach. That's the church that Brianna went to when I first moved to Detroit. And once I got here, I became very involved in the church, as far as like with the drama team, the praise and worship. I mean, just
the men's ministry.
Men's ministry. I mean, I just hopped in really full throttle, and in that, I was starting to find myself. I was able to find a community and things that I really didn't have before that, because I wasn't involved in church and things like that while I was in Las Vegas. And so it was great. It was like, oh man, I'm part of these teams. I'm part of this is going great. And now cancer, but because of the community at that time, because of being into community, because of having people that were praying and believing, we had a whole community of believers that, even though my faith, and even though that Bree said to me that, babe, we're going to get through this, God is going to heal you, she spoke those things, but she did not even have but she didn't believe it. She spoke it out, but she didn't believe it. She still put it out there. She still put it in my spirit that God was going to heal me, that we were going to make it, that we were going to get through it. I heard those words. I didn't know that she didn't believe.
But that tells you that there's power of life and death that is in the life and death is in the power of your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And there's creative power in your words.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I remember, while you were talking, I just remember we were at a wedding. And gosh, I mean, the memories just keep flooding back. We were at a wedding and we were at the reception, and Dex got really sick. I mean, he was on a cane, right? Mm-hmm. You were on a cane, and I don't know how we determined.
I went to the
yeah, he went to the bathroom and he had black stool, which, if anybody knows, is an indicator of internal bleeding. So we ended up going to the hospital, and
we had to call the ambulance.
Had to call an ambulance from the wedding. Went to the hospital, and I think he ended up having like 3 blood transfusions. And you were in the hospital for like a week.
But on the way out of on the way out of because the event was held at the church, and as we were coming out of the hallway, Bishop Ben Jabert was in the hallway, and he came and he laid hands on me at that point as well, and prayed for Brianna. And he also said that Brianna wasn't going to be a widow, and that God was going to heal my body. There were so many people that were praying and believing. We had wristbands that were made at the time. That said, "We support you, Dex," and had scripture on there. And there was many people that were wearing these bands and in faith that God was going to heal me. So there was many other people's faith that was surrounding me, someone that didn't have the faith, because I was the one that was faced with it. I was the one that was dealing with this sickness. So for me, even though I kept hearing all these words of faith, even though I kept hearing you're going to be healed, you're going to be, I still had a level of fear that was wrapping me up, because I just didn't understand how I was going to be able to get through it, because it felt so bad, because I was so weak, because I could not function. I didn't even remember after I would leave treatment. I never even remember how I got home. I mean, I don't like. I remember sometime like waking up and barely being able to get out of the car and being so sick that like Bree would have to call her mother.
Yeah, Lady Di would come over and help me bring him in the house.
Help bring me in the house.
Oh, and he would sweat through his clothes and sweat through the sheets. And Lady Di would come over and help change the sheets and help get him cleaned up. And I mean, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a journey, and throughout all of those things, it was a one night we went to Bible study on a Wednesday night, and I remember going up to the altar during worship, and I was very, very weak.
You were on your cane.
I had my cane. Went up to the altar, and Pastor Steve Purcell came and he laid hands on me at the altar, and I remember falling out, and someone helped me get back up. And I seen him down at the other end of the altar. Then he rushed back down to where I was again, and he said that the Lord told him to lay hands on me again. So he laid hands on me again, and I fell back out again. I got up. Go back to my seat to where Bree was. She, I have an old lady that walks up to me. She hands me a napkin. This was Darnell's aunt or something.
I don't remember this stuff.
You do.
Keep telling him. Maybe it'll come back to me.
She handed me a napkin. She said, "I don't have anything else." Like the fact that I don't even know where this napkin, that makes me upset. But she handed me a napkin and she says, "I don't have anything else, but this was in my Bible, and the Lord told me to give it to you." It's just similar like this. The Lord told me to give it to you. And so I just put it in my Bible, and
kept it moving.
It kept it moving. I didn't think nothing else about it. That night, I went to sleep, and at 5:28 that morning, I get woke up by the voice of the Lord. But at this point in time, I had never heard God's voice. I never heard an audible voice. I never heard an audible voice of God. At that point right there, 5:28 in the morning, God's voice says, "From this day forward, no longer will you suffer from the ill effects of this disease. Millions of people will be supernaturally healed by your testimony and by your laying on of the by the laying on of your hands." Then he says, go to Luke 7:21. You guys, you girls, I couldn't tell you if Luke 7:21 existed. For all I knew, Luke could have stopped at 7:20, and I would have been sitting there looking crazy, like, Lord, give me another one, give me another one, give me another chance. So I get my Bible. First of all, I'm writing in the dark. I'm sitting here. I'm writing with my phone light in the dark, writing the revelation that the Lord is speaking to me. Then, so I write the revelation. He tells me to go to Luke 7:21. Before I go to Luke 7:21 again, I read the revelation again. And I'm just like, what in the world? Did I just hear this? So I go to Luke 7:21, and it says,
it's right here. Over here somewhere.
At that very time, Jesus cured many who had diseases, sicknesses, and evil spirits, and gave sight to many who were blind.